I do not see it. Gypsies. Aha! I do not see it. It's good? We all good? What's up, Gary? How you doing? So today, actually, I'm gonna do another round of work on some of these assets. But my plan is a little bit later on in stream, I'm gonna take the models as they are in here and prototype them. I'm gonna use ZBrush tools, combination of decimation, auto unwrapping in ZBrush, re-project some texture. And I'm gonna set up my files workflow wise to pretty much not matter when I actually do make a real mesh. So we'll probably build the helmet or the weapon. I'm not sure which we'll do. But we're gonna take one of those and we're gonna take it into Substance, do a quick render, like just export set files up the way they need to be, and be able to make changes in ZBrush and pretty rapidly switch them over to the actual game asset. He said because Ashley isn't streaming. Oh my goodness. Hey Kyle. What's up for your Kiri? You know what? I'm gonna grab that. One second here. I'm gonna go try my old, somebody brought it up before, like watching old tutorials and stuff I had done where I always use this one. It's here, it's BG Horror. And I saw it on my hard drive. So I'm gonna plug it in. See if we still like it. Maybe we do, we'll see. Enable customize material. I'm gonna replace this material with that. Standard brush, Chrome, and then we're gonna change that. I'm gonna load the material. I just put it in my startup, but I don't want to restart ZBrush, so. And here it is. Yeah, it still looks good. I like it. We'll go with it. Haven't used that for so long. What's up, Snooki? She'll never come back. She's gone forever. All right, let's do this. So I think it's pretty important to just have everything blocked in, at least approximately, even if I don't really like all the pieces specifically. What's up, DNA Pikop? How are you? So yeah, I like blocking stuff in as much as possible. I like making sure that that I have all the tools that I possibly can to be successful. What's up, Shane? How are you? You guys already know Shane. Shane, I added to that playlist today. I added some royalty-free hip-hop beats. Sure, yeah, no problem, Gary. It's very, very easy. Now, I generally will use one material on the whole model so that I have consistent view of what my detail level is. If you use different materials, they can have different cavity exaggerations. They can have softening of the surfaces. They can have subsurface on shit like that. And so I try my best to make sure that they're the same. So I'll show you how to do it. I generally don't do it all that often. There are exceptions to that, especially in the case of like something that's got like a fancy material, you know, like a gem or something like that, where the stuff that I would do in ZBrush is going to be pretty low key, technically speaking. Like I won't do a whole lot with the gem. Like I'll expect that my material is going to do a lot of that work when I get to the game engine. So I'll actually use different material, like special materials for that sometimes. There's some really cool matte caps you can use to sort of get different effects. What's up, Lance? But yeah, it's just a matter of so basically material is assigned per face, and it's actually done if you look in your brush settings. There's an M, right? We can actually, just like we'd fill color. Well, let's do the color first. Let's do color first. So if I want this to be red, I can fill object, show everything. Right now everything looks red. But that's because none of the rest of those have polypaint on. So if I change the color now, that piece that I have selected that I just filled with red is now, all verts are assigned that color. So color is done by Vertex and material is done by face. So we've got a different color on this right now. Now if I wanted to go to the bone piece and fill it with the color, and then go to the metal pieces and fill it with, I actually had color on them, so I just turned it on. So that's just changing the color, and I assume that you know how to do that. But it's the same thing. You just change your brush mode to material. So just here, material channel. And so now, if I pick this material, I can fill the object on here with this material, and then if I switch materials, now that one will always stay that. Let me do something a little bit more gaudy. So we'll fill object on the metal piece. And now you see those have their own assigned to it. And then in addition to that, you can paint material with the brush. So if we use any of the brushes, we change it to RGB mode, I can paint on and this is literally just assigning different material to each face, whatever the brush is. There's no blending on this, it's just on or off. You put a material on a face. No problem. If you guys have general questions about ZBrush, I'm always happy to answer. So, feel free to ask questions. Or, you know, ask me questions about whatever. Don't even care. We can talk about baseball if you wanted to. It's your channel, guys. Actually, don't ask me about baseball. I don't know shit about baseball. You borrowed it, huh? How did it work for you? Hey, Red Jacket. Thanks, man. It's nice of you to say. So the cool thing about what we're actually, you know what? I'm just gonna poly paint on all this stuff. The cool thing about what we're gonna do, setting up this workflow in general, is that I can pretty much directly use my poly paint in ZBrush and just have it real quick send over what I need. Not pork, Gary, it was poke. It's like sushi on a bed of rice with some stuff. How do you sample the colors quickly from reference art and apply in ZBrush? Red Jacket, oh, Jackal, sorry. My bad. C is the sampling color, or sample color, and I just literally use the image plane in the background. It samples anything on the screen. Shane, if I didn't use it, man, this is like, I'm waiting on you, Pixelogic. Get that in. When do we get this? It is so good. Not having it makes me sad in my heart place. It's where all the feels are. I mean, Shane, you primarily work in ZBrush, right? Like, I do most of my stuff in ZBrush, and I do a lot of extractions and split stuff off. And to be able to just say, hey, I want the weapon. Well, there are a few bugs that are a little frustrating. So if I select these right here, I have tons of, I mean, these are like, literally, those are all folders. But if I just want to work on the weapon for a little while, now I just have the weapon isolated. That shit is fire. That's the business, Shane. It's all I gotta do. Exactly, and you can have subgroups as well. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It also lets me do all of the, you know, the bits and bobs. Like I can turn on and off poly paint for any piece of this, or I can select it and toggle all of them. It shows you what has UVs. You can see for some reason this, and this have UVs. You can know to go delete them if you needed to, save some memory. You can see how many points each one is. Like what's the motherfucker. You know, that one that's gonna really make it impossible to decimate. I don't know, because you're sleeping, Shane, that's why. Get it together, Shane, come on. Man, this Red Bull was very necessary. I'm so tired. Yeah, there's not a question. This is like, not having it is tragedy. Like I said, one day I fully expect all this stuff to show up. Crazy. Tell you what shit has symmetry on, which way, right? Look at that. Look at all this information. It's all good. Anyway. It's just like a box of chocolates. Bunch of jokers. Bunch of knuckleheads in here.
The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on
I forgot.
we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.
So this model I'm probably gonna take and do a retopo on, separate these pieces. But I'm not gonna do it right now. As a matter of fact, we probably won't do it today at all. We'll probably just go through, once I get a little further with just general shapes, I'm gonna start taking this, our little friend here. I'm gonna take this and actually put it into decimate it, do a bunch of shit to get it down to the poly count it needs to be. So 500 polys is what the in-game asset's gonna look like. Which is, for what it's worth, not a lot of polys. Anyway, the cool part about this, really, what it comes down to is that I'm going to set up the files in a way that basically I'm going to have the ability to just make changes based on having tested in a game. I really feel like that's a pretty huge thing to be doing in general, is to make sure you spend your time trying to figure out what the actual result is going to be. What's your final model going to look like? You know, having a great ZBrush model is cool and all, but really the thing is, there's so many steps along after that affect dramatically how good your model actually looks. The material, the textures, the resolution, the way you built your low poly. You know, our first low poly is actually just going to be a decimated model with some cleanup on it. But even just the change from doing that and doing a proper low poly, making it look real nice, so dramatic. So it's like really figuring out what your challenges are. On every model, it's different. On this model, I suspect right now that this compound set of shapes here, all these spikes, is going to be difficult for me to fit into a poly budget of 400. But we'll see what happens. But it's great. It's great problem solving to actually see the result, and make choices. And if you do this early enough, you won't have any problem pivoting, right? If you just say, oh, this shape can't support or can't be supported by my poly count, well, shit, you got to figure it out. So maybe it's change the shape a little bit. Maybe it's have a conversation with concept art. You know, just kind of figure out what things you can apply to make it work better. Red Jackal, yeah, sure, man. So Red was asking just how to sample colors, and really it's quite literally just the C key on your keyboard will sample anything in the scene. So like if you have any image in here, I've got an image reference image loaded in my image plane down here. I've loaded that. So that's actually pixels that I can sample from because they're inside of this little space. See, you can't go outside of the UI, but if you have like this orange, I'm sampling from this, holding my mouse over it and hitting C. If you want to switch the colors, you have two colors. V will switch between them. It's actually similar to Photoshop. Actually, it's pretty similar. Just like the X key, or yeah, it's X key, right? I don't remember the shortcut. I'd have to have Photoshop open for me to figure it out. My brain wants to click and do it. So yeah, that's it. And then so I can sample any color I want, including whatever's back here. You can see the sample up there. I'm just tapping C as I move around my scene. I actually use that a lot when I'm painting. Like I'll do a little bit of poly paint here and there. You can see there's a little bit of paint all over this. But what I'll do is take like a big saturated red or something like that, and I'll start painting in the creases and stuff. Why? Oh, because we're in shit. So I'll paint a little bit of red. Maybe I'll find a darker red. And I'll blur it, and then I'll resample. And I'll sample something that's been blended between that brown and the red. And I'll blur it a little bit, and I'll resample. Right? Use it as a palette, basically. Hey, thanks, Cuny. A lot of very nice people that stream on this channel. Find a little schedule down below. Enough of that. Let's see. Okay. The shoulder pad's a little bit big in the back, but we'll figure it out. This is one of my favorite parts, like just kind of like feeling out shape when I'm sculpting. Trying to find the flavor of the character. How heavy is it supposed to be? How strong should it look? Where is it strong? Why is it strong? What are your favorite parts, you guys? Like, what do you like the most when you start sculpting? What's up, Cube? All right, later, Shane. Sim extract. It's just a little scriptlet that does. It's a ZScript that basically does the extract, accept, and turns on symmetry on the new tool. So if I wanted to make this little trimbo here. Just got this selected now, and I can quick smooth it and shit. Do you like the part where it looks less and less like trash? It's a good thing to like. I feel you on that too. I'm a big fan of that part too. Fury. Yeah, I love blocking stuff out. I love like just that. Something to nothing, like that moment where it goes from a bunch of spheres or extraction pieces, you know, like you got your sausage model all over the place, and then get to that point where you're just starting to see like there's the shapes that I was looking for. I love that. Ah, stretch. Good morning. Exactly. I haven't done any of that on stream yet, but we'll do that soon. I mean, I kind of do that when I built these shoulder pads and stuff. I guess like the difference is pretty dramatic from difference is dramatic, like from starting from zero. Like starting with like nothing in your scene feels so good. It's like you're exploring. Got your little adventure hat on, your adventure backpack. You're ready, you got a sandwich in there, it's at least 1.5. You know? You're going out. You're looking for shapes. Looking for monsters. Looking for monsters. It's the little things, Shane, you know what I mean? Those tiny little optimizations, like making it just a little less. 1 or 2 clicks less when you do it a ton. Turns out that matters to me. Yeah, well. Yeah, doing the backtrack. I don't know. I think it's very freeing to have all the separate tools. So I've long since given up the ghost on that one. Actually, I can't even hang. Stand on one subtool. I think for demo it's super fun, but definitely it's restricting for me. Feels bad, man. Whoa, 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 whoa. Backface masking, not on. You guys get pretty creative with fucking Twitch emotes, I have to say. I like it. I like the wave. That's nice. It's a nice touch. Pretty good. You're gonna make a Hadouken at that horse. Ashles. Oh my goodness. Are we calling you Ashles now? Is that what we're doing? I'm gonna be honest, chat. I try and get away with as many bullshit pieces of geometry as possible. Like this trim here. Metal. But I extracted it, mushed it around. Found some planes. Sort of. Kind of. And then let ZBrush kind of do its thing. But kind of do its thing, I mean actually do its thing. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was a change in maneuvers. I think Ashley's better. I don't know about this Ashles. We just stick with what's good, you know? Okay. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Seemed like it was about time. Joel's? I'm not... well, my name isn't Joel in the first place. Oh, because it was Ashles. I get it. That was about, I mean, 55 minutes. That's enough time for a crash, right? Fine. Nothing is screwed. We got it. We're fine. All right. Yeah, it really doesn't crash this much for me, honestly. Yeah, that's actually the thing that crashes me all the time, Gary. Is quick save. And I would never turn off quick save because that would be the worst plan. We're fine. Annoyed, but fine. That's fine. I mean, like that, I don't know. That's a real humdinger of a bug, though. Humdinger. Worse than a regular dinger. I'm not sure why, though. Save your file. I don't know, man. I don't think I need John Cena yelling at me. I'm good with John Cena. One second. You think that's just his normal voice? Also, his name is John Cena? Isn't that? Does he yell? Because I don't really watch wrestling. I just know that the John Cena, like the. What is the actual? What's his shtick? I just remember all the memes were like him being announced and then just like flying in, drop kicking somebody or something. I'm not really so much a wrestle boy, you know what I mean? Though I was really good at Def Jam Vendetta, which is a wrestling game. Surprisingly good wrestling game featuring rappers. It's like cool and stylized and shit. You remember that game? You could date Skeleton Man. You could date Little Kim. Also, one of my favorite insults that was ever in a video game. I'm pretty sure it was Method Man. It's Method Man and Redman talking to you, the player, about your first girlfriend, and he says something like, your girlfriend looks like a foot. And I just like, for whatever reason, just the idea of saying that someone just looks like a foot just killed me. Obviously I was younger, but it stuck with me. It's still in my head. You really want to insult somebody. Yeah, skeleton. Alright, let's try something out. I was telling you guys I wanted to show you sort of how I prototype shit. So let's do it. Flavor Flav definitely. I'm pretty sure he was in it. Anyway, it's a cool game. It was actually a really good combat system, actually. Like the fighting game aspect of it was really good. So what we're gonna do is kind of a 3-step process. We're gonna take this mesh, we're going to turn it into a singular geometry. So we're gonna basically do a Dynamesh version of the whole helmet. And then what I'll do is with that Dynamesh model, I'll decimate it down to make a low poly. And once we have a low poly, we'll export everything together. All the OBJ, or all the objects, we're gonna send out. We'll set up a model real quick in Maya, Max. So let's do this. Let's get our CC manager real quick. Get him popping off. We'll find helmet. We'll select just the helmet, because that's all we need right now. Show selected, hide others. I'm missing one. There it is. So we don't really need all of this stuff in here right now. What we're gonna do now, hide that. Save this file actually, before we do any shenanigans. Alright, save it. I'm gonna set, this is probably just fine for me to get a base mesh. So what I'll do is we can go up a level or two. So really all you need to do this is like to have a clean enough model where it is, it shows all the silhouette shapes. And it seems like I've done it. There's some stuff I'm gonna have to patch up, and that's fine. So check it out. We're gonna merge visible. We're gonna go up and grab that model that we merged together, this one right here. It worked for R8 from the beginning, Ingram. It's not new. And then what we're gonna do is just Dynamesh this guy. We're gonna Dynamesh it at the lowest res. I always, because the scales of my models are all over the place, I'm consistently, I start from max, and I'll be working on one project and the scale will be this, and I'll work on another project and the scale will be this. I just Dynamesh at the lowest res I can. Oh shit, I didn't select it. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, because I want this to be a contiguous model, we want one mesh, I'm gonna go and just use the inflate tool. Make sure I have my symmetry on. And I'm gonna just go through and inflate areas to like kind of close up holes. My low poly is gonna be very low poly, so in places where I know there's just no reason, like I'm never gonna have that much cut back on this model here. You don't have to do this. I want it to be as close as I can to the model that I would use. So again, this is a throwaway mesh. This is just literally we're doing a placeholder. It's gonna hold our space in substance and hold its position. We're gonna name things correctly. Everything's gonna kind of be used from here. And so this particular model, the cleaner these shapes are, like the more like this overlap is definitely not going to be. We don't want it to cut behind there and put geometry in there. So let's just spackle it up with a little inflate. When we Dynamesh this again, when we run, you'll see it won't change, but we'll start getting just a surface here now instead of a bunch of undercuts. Yo, Lotus, what's up, man? Okay, so there's my trash model. One thing I like to do to test to see like if I have holes in my model is to grab the select lasso, and I'll just do like this sort of cheese grater pattern here. What this will do is show me if there's anything on the inside. You'll see like a little nest of polygons. Looks like we're good. Doesn't look like there's any secret secret holes in there. All right, so this is my super sweet low poly, the best low poly. Let's be honest. What I'll do is go from here. This is literally just for this. I just did this so I had contiguous mesh that wouldn't have a bunch of extra nests that I'd have to delete. So I'm gonna pre-process current. So I'm gonna say 700 polys, even though I wanted it 500. There's a bunch of stuff behind on the inside I'm not gonna use. I'll delete out the inside. So we want, we want it to be reasonable. Want to make sure we get general shapes definitely accounted for. We could go a little higher than that maybe. There's some stuff in here that I would just get rid of, honestly, like the interior spaces. Let me pop Max open real quick. I think Kyle's at lunch. Ingram. Yeah, Resners, this is again, I would never use this for a real mesh, ever. I will never, ever use this as a real mesh. Especially if it's got to deform. But if it's got to deform, pretty much I'm going to rebuild that topo myself. I'll be back in 1 second while we're opening Max up. Hey, Hodor. All right, man. All right.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Shooting stars. Didn't even get to bronze. I said I'm moving too far. Get to glass. Looking at a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. Tell them I be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants.
Okay.
I said I'm moving too fast. Didn't even get a glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best to flaunt. We aren't hating because you aren't. Shining like it's neon. Rock like kings of Leon. Shooting stars.
good. So if we're realistic about what our poly count is allowing for, I'm just gonna go and grab a strip of polys. We only need the outside of this. So there's also going to be some little cleanup things that I want to do just to make it a little simpler. Like all this stuff in the middle here, none of this is going to be necessary. Like the normal map is going to do all that real easy for us. What's going on with this pizza? What are you talking about this pizza for, eggs? What's happening with this pizza? Alright, let's figure out where the rat's nests are. There's a few of them. I know I saw one over here. So we're not looking for beautiful geometry, we're just trying to get it done. And a logarithmic. We're gonna do them both, Gary. I just exported an OBJ. That's all I did. Nothing special, Gary. Alright, so what are we at now? So that's still too many, and that's fine. Let's just look and see if there's any more rat's nests, anything real crazy looking. Yep, exactly. Exactly, Gary. Not fancy. It's the job done. No, this is not retopo. This is just giving me like an approximate mesh. I'll show you why in a second. The cool thing about this is that if you set this up, like I'm gonna set up this one mesh, I'm cleaning it up a little bit, just to make it a little bit nicer result when I put it in Substance and render it. But the rad thing is that I can use whatever I do in Substance on this ZBrush placeholder model. Because of the way that I'll work in Substance, it will forever be there. The material, the texture, all that stuff, and when I go back and sculpt more and like clean it up once I get an idea of what it looks like, I can just replace the high polys, right? So we learn a little bit from our sculpt, we learn a little bit from our low poly, we learn a lot from our rendered textures. We see where we're getting errors and we fix those things. And each one of those little things that we can kind of glean a little bit of information from will give us a better and better model. And I'd argue that this process, the process of like finding out where you're failing, and what doesn't look good in game, that problem solving step, that's really what makes you a good artist when it comes to making video games. Not going through that process and not understanding why something looks bad, how the normals are coming out bunkish, not looking very good. Those are the problems that when you can solve them, you can get a job. If you can't solve them, it's gonna be very hard. So I'm just simplifying this hair a little bit. I want to get it. I'm not worried about it being exactly the right number. For my low poly value, so 500 is the low poly value. What I'm worried about is just that it's gonna support the shapes I want, and I think it's close enough now. I did forget I was gonna auto unwrap this in ZBrush. We'll see if GoZ decides it wants to work. So I'm literally just gonna say, hey, unwrap. And now I've got UVs. Fuck, it's opening up its own max every time I hit GoZ. I forget what to do to fix that. So we'll just export over the top of our old one. Again, I'm not trying to get a perfect unwrap here. I'm actually going to use a higher res texture probably. Than what I would have been allowed to be strictly in the budget. I'm likely to do this as well in the final. Split the jaw off. Alright, that's good enough. So we want to do two things now. We want to make this symmetrical. Now we're going to take this, so the UV is properly rendered. We're going to go ahead and select one half of it. In the UV editor, I'm just going to offset it by 1. So we'll move it off this space so that it's not overlapping. Bloop. So now it's unwrapped. It's a low poly, lowish poly. It's still not low enough, but. So now the key here is that I need to set these things up in the right way. So let's do export selected. We're gonna make a new folder. And I'm gonna make a low poly and a high poly. Low. High. And, oh, I have to change the name. Then set up a material. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. I gotta change the mesh name. So it's important for me to set this up correctly now. My helmet stuff has to be named helmet underscore low or something underscore low to say like this is a mesh that I want to match. This won't matter right now, but what's gonna happen is each one of these parts, the helmet, the shoulder pads, the weapon, the gauntlets, they're their own texture pages. And so they're gonna be set up as their own materials effectively in Substance. And so in order for me to bake them and not have to do a whole bunch of setup, I can make it so it just reads the model names. And so we'll export with good naming from ZBrush, and we'll export from Max for a low poly to get auto matching. This is gonna be now the name of the OBJ or FBX doesn't matter. It's the name of the mesh. So let's look at what we were naming our files in ZBrush to get that information. Helmet underscore so high. So you see, I actually have been naming them correctly here. So what we want though is a name that I can append. So Drake underscore helmet underscore high is gonna be the name of each object. That's how it's gonna decide to match it. My low poly then needs to be called Drake underscore helmet underscore low. And this is just basically setting up a render group. Actually, we're setting up a render group just by naming. So then if I had Drake underscore shoulders underscore low, that would be another render group. Okay. Now we're gonna go back to ZBrush. I'm gonna put all these to high. Now the cool thing about this is I can actually bake my vertex color. Like any of my poly paint that I've done. All that stuff totally is legit and can come along with me for the whole ride. So we're gonna set this all high. Oops, all high. So I got my poly paint on everybody. Now, like I said, this is just, we're testing this model. We're just gonna see what it looks like when we actually get to the low poly stage. So let's, oh, one thing. In order for the render groups to read just the OBJ names, I have to turn off group on every subtool. Oops. Uh-oh. Oops. Alright. So I've got another little script to do this as well. So all this is gonna do is go through each subtool and make sure that group is checked off. And that's actually done. That's all it was doing, was going through everything, but you can see in the export. If this is on, I actually shortcut it as well so I could change it when it was messed up. If that's on, you're boned. Small axe, it's a Canon 6D. So I'm gonna use Subtool Master now. So all these like little simple quality of life things make this process so much less insane. We're gonna clear masking, single group, poly group for each tool. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna say, okay. When we save, all my stuff was named helmet underscore high. So So now I need to add Drake underscore to it. So everything this is gonna append an, I'm gonna go to substance, hi, Drake underscore, and then it's gonna export all of my OBJs that are visible. And they're all gonna have their polypaint. So while it's doing that, let's jump over to substance, start setting up the file. Low. Now it should show up with a material name. Look at our texture set here. Oh, I didn't make the material. Oh, it doesn't matter. That's not a big deal. The material name actually will matter later, but right now it does not matter. What? What did I do? Hold on a second. I think I didn't name some of the objects. Oh, I bet the ones that I extracted. The new stuff probably doesn't have proper names. Let's look at our ZC manager. We can see it real quick. ZBrush decided that it was going to export all things. I'm not sure what happened there. Uh-oh. It's getting so hot here today. Crazy. Oh shit. Oh shit. No, he just didn't. Thanks, Gary. I do have the original model, but this is not. Keep in mind, I'm not done sculpting this. Like, I'm gonna go back and sculpt again. But what I really, really prefer to do is to know exactly what things are gonna be a problem. Like, for instance, how do I get it down to 500 polygons? I mean, I can see the result now, where it's like 600, and I have to lose 100 polygons in that. I'm certain I can do it. But it's a question of, do I do alpha in some areas? Do I totally flatten some parts? So the challenges aren't just in the sculpt. The challenges go all the way through the pipeline, all the way down to that final low poly texture set. And so that's what my goal is right now, is to kind of get clarity on what my actual challenges are. I think that's actually, like, generally speaking, that's a huge deal to nail. Yeah. Each piece for this model has its own limit. The helmet is 500 for its in-game asset, and that's kind of what I'm targeting. Like, how do I make that look good? And that's like that's the problem solving that you go through, like, right? Like, the whole thing is like, oh, how do I do all of this? It's so few polys. What do I do? You're looking into getting into 3D sculpting and digital art, seriously? You were wondering what type of PC setup I currently have. CPU, GPU, MOBO? I don't know what motherboard is I have. And generally speaking, for ZBrush, RAM and processor are your buddies. For pretty much all the other software you use, it's going to be your GPU. I have an i7 6700K, and I feel like that's probably enough for me. I have a 980 Ti for my graphics card. I don't think that's necessary. Like, I think that's kind of for me, I use that for encoding as well when I stream, so it's a little bit of a little overkill, I think. Honestly, it's useful, but yeah, RAM and processor is your bestest buddy when it comes to ZBrush. Okay. Not Resners. The big problem with doing Dota stuff is that it actually, you never really know when it's gonna go in, if it's gonna go in. Like, it could happen, but you don't know when, or if it will. What's going on here? No reason this shouldn't be working. it is not registering these models. So we're gonna double check when we import our meshes that they're overlapping properly. Make sure it's not inverted. That happens sometimes. What's up, R. Baxter? Why did I screw up? Well, it's not just a pickle. Our Baxter, we're doing a placeholder, like we're trying out a mesh. We basically combined all the parts of the helmet, used a combination of Dynamesh and Decimation Master to simplify our mesh down to, roughly speaking, the low poly stats, kind of see what issues we might have. And then now I am trying to get it to render in Substance. I'm not getting it to bake. I'm not sure. Not sure why. I have it set to always match. The group setting is off. Let's just double check that for everybody. It is on. Oh, well, well. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, you know what? This might be a cache issue. I might need to just make a new file in Substance. Let's try that. I just made a new file. It was. Son of a gun. That's funny. right, I'll be back in 1 second. Sorry, I was like so sweaty. Had to figure out if there's a way I could cool down the house. Okay, so. Bake a second time to get the vertex color. The first time, when you bake, there's a bug. You must bake twice. But now we'll get our vertex color. Oh no. Uh-oh. Failed. Drake helmet high, big horn. 111. Let's look at our big horn. Huh. Oh, I have to turn off the, okay. It'll be fine. It always fails. It's so funny. We have to make the vertex color by itself. If you're in a movie as character artist, all process would be different. Workflow. What kind of workflow will you follow when you sculpt a character for a movie? Small axe, it's pretty similar. The actual sculpting part doesn't look different, honestly. You use the same tools. The major differences come in the final assets, right? Like the textures you use, the materials you use. Often, shaders for offline rendering or for like a movie where you render to a still frame are done in a completely different manner. But interestingly, I saw that they used Unreal for was it Rogue? Not Rogue. Is it Rogue One? Was it Rogue One? Was that the last Star Wars movie? The one with the sarcastic robot. That robot is rendered in Unreal. The actual end frames. In real time. Now it's a supercomputer, basically real-time rendering. But just the fact that it is using the same pipeline that I would use for speaking. With the with the end goal. Now you see I have a color map here. Check this out. I just pop this color map in. Add in our fill layer. Check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out. And there it is. We've got our this is our actual diffuse texture now from my poly paint directly. You don't optimize your model, isn't it, in a movie character? You still do. It's just different. You do different things, right? So, you build a mesh. Usually, there's some displacement involved. So, you still have to be able to control how you bind a character and everything. There's a lot of work with making that work. So you don't want to have a 50 billion poly mesh, right? And so now check this out. We can actually, I'll just use some of my my smart materials that I built. Here, this is set this guy as an overlay. Actually, before we do that, let's do this. So we can see like what parts are shitty on our model now. Now we have some pretty clear ideas of what stuff comes through, what stuff's a mess. if I wanted to add a little something, turn everything off but emissive. So yeah, you got Crowfall. Oh, is that like the? Was that the? Crowfall was the Dark Age of Camelot. Is that what that one was? Is that the spiritual successor to that? Yeah, it's a spiritual successor to another game. I thought it was. Okay, so let's see. So things that are terrible about this model. There's a lot of shape change in these planes here. You can see all the horns are not solid right now. Those are easy things to fix, right? We can worry about that later. But for general shape, this is holding it up pretty well. I would love to have a little bit more flippiness for the sculpt. But this model right now, if I exported this, I would get all my textures, I would be able to dump them all into the game importer and like quite legitimately have a crazy quick process. I realize now hasn't been quick, but what I have is everything's set up. So I go add to my max file, I reopen it, I rebake, and it should just automatically fix up everything that's here. You know, I can actually, if I wanted to, actually one other thing you can do. So I use the Vertex color, right? One of the things that I'll do sometimes is I will I'll export resource. No, I don't want to share that. And then I'll rebake now that I've exported that texture. This is Substance Painter. This is where I do all my material stuff. So now if I wanted to rebake, check this out. I can actually, instead of using Polypaint, which is something I normally do, we can use the Mesh ID. And then what will happen is each of these objects is going to get its own vertex, or non-vertex color. It's going to get an ID for each poly. So check this out. Now right now, this is referencing my ID map. That's what this is. So what I need to do now is just re-import that texture. So I just drop it back in. Now hopefully one day they fix this so you don't have to export then re-import, but whatever. So then I go in here and I just replace that and I've got my texture now. But now what I can do that's really cool, this is the dope shit. let's pretend that's not there. We just have this base material, right? What we can do is use simple materials and mask them with a color selection. There's a quick bone texture. Now, some of these aren't masked, so I would need to go do some manual like edits to the mask, right? I don't have the horns here broken off. You can kind of get the idea anyway. So if we do like you kind of get the idea, right? You basically can use your low poly or your high polys, all those objects, and bake them separately, assign materials to each part. R. Baxter, no, I do not do my retopo in ZBrush. I use the tools. This time, my retopo is actually a combination of Dynameshing all of the pieces together. I can go back and show you guys one more time what I did. It was this, and I merged visible on this, and then I Dynameshed this at its lowest resolution. And on this, I went through and just did a couple quick inflates here and there. To close up holes. Make it a little less gappy. And then from there, like this is the whole process really, honestly. This is what I do. When I wanna do temp models, I know what my poly counts are supposed to be, and I wanna see what it will look like in game resolutions. What I can get away with. I say pre-process current and I decimate it down to 400 polygons or 600 polygons. So the process is combine it, Dynamesh it, decimate it, do a little bit of cleanup to test it properly. And I know, when I look at this low poly, there's tons of stuff that just like is no bueno. Like here, the triangulation of this, you see how it's like cuts through? This should be a nice meaty horn. But it's not. It's a mess. Anthony, I'm gonna retopo it. I'm going to. I will. So, I might do something like this for my first pass. And then what I'll do is, like when I do this. Oh, there's a lot of stuff I didn't clean up on. So this is like the time where I was saying before, right? When you don't close up some of this stuff, you're gonna get all this crazy mess of geometry, like these little gaps here. The ones back behind here. If you don't, so I just inflate so that I don't, like things overlap, and where I don't give a shit whether or not they have geo, which is most of the places. I don't really want, I just want the shell, right? That's the whole point of doing this, is that you get like a clean start point. And then you can shenanigans out of there. It is too easy. It's definitely too easy. So now this is a pretty clean. Like you see, there's no intersections that are weird. So then when I do Z plugin, my Cintiq pen is acting full right now. I pre-process one more time. Then we decimate the current. Oh, I thought I hit it. Yeah, the tip of my pen, I need to like see if there's like something, maybe I spilled something on it. I didn't realize. It's sticking a lot, and so it doesn't click all the time. Yeah, I think it's not clicking there. That's crazy. Then I take that, bring it into max, delete half of it, clean up the crazy mess. Like there's gonna be a bunch of like little rat's nests all over the place. Like right in here. Like that's not gonna give you a very clear idea of what the poly count's gonna be if you've got a bunch of shit like that. And it happens, it's like, it's not the end of the world. It's actually relatively straightforward to fix, right? You can see another one back there. So I clean those out so I get a better approximation. I delete the back sides. Yeah, removing the gaps is like the clutch difference then, Anthony. Not doing that means that you're gonna get a trash model. And the way that I check to see if I did all right with that, even sometimes I'll go so far, Anthony, as to like take the model that I have. Like I know I don't need these gaps, right? So flatten them. Flatten that shape. Like this probably doesn't need a cleft right here. You can do a little bit of cleanup on this and get away with a lot more. I guess that's what I'm saying. And like the more you clean that up, the nicer the model will be, etc. When it comes to cleaning up your model for differences between games and film, man, there's a lot actually. There's a lot. Baxter, I would say the primary difference is the way you can structure low poly. Building a mesh for displacement, like to be like essentially subdivided, and then you use, 16 or 32-bit grayscale images to actually physically displace the model. It's like a normal map that actually moves the geometry. you want really clean subdivision. So like, I think triangles are way worse for you. Generally though, you try and use similar loops. The more things like deformers you use for rigging, the more you have to change that stuff. So like having a muscle group for like biceps, triceps, there's way more focus on being able to deform that into a different shape. And so then those times you construct the geometry a little bit differently too. Whereas for a game, you almost never have deformers to do that stuff. And basically you're just representing the silhouette and that's it. It's the same difference as going from like it's just the same thing that you do when you say, hey, is this a static mesh or an animated mesh? Any place that you're animating or interacting with, you have a lot more focus on how you build that geometry. There's a lot more specific technical ways you have to do things. So where on a super low poly model like this, the lower arm might not even have a twist joint, right? But if there's a twist joint, you want to have some geometry in the middle to accommodate that, right? Like to let it twist. Having super low stuff means that you're definitely not going to have a deformer for the forearm, right? You're not going to, when you flex, you're not going to get the muscle groups to push it. So you don't have to do anything that accommodates that. So it's just like another step of more awareness of the technical nature of the animation. That makes sense. But the process of building stuff and cleaning it up, it really ends up being pretty similar, I like these like minimal beats. I don't mind this. I can handle this. This playlist has gotten to a point now where nothing offends me. There's one song on here I think I'll probably delete, but I'll add some more. Par Marsupilami, what's up, man? Actually, you don't have to do anything. You don't actually have to do anything at all. We have to do a couple things. They're really simple though. One is in order to get well, no, the polypane is just exported on the OBJ. So there's nothing special about it. You can't decimate the model because that blows your polypane out, right? But if you see polypane when you export, your OBJ has it. So starting from that, with that assumption, I can show you there's like it's a one button operation. What the hell? You're working on a hard surface character at the moment and focusing purely on aesthetic. So I'm thinking about experimenting so it fits a rigging better. A hard surface character, like a robot? What do you mean? So that's a slightly better version of the same thing, right? You can see now the teeth aren't necessarily directly in the model, but they have the shape change. The horns are probably a little bit more appropriate. I probably could do and the more polys you give it, the more accurate it'll be. But it's a good start. But Marsupilami, all you need to do, this is it, I'm gonna delete all this shit, is when you bake in Substance, you cannot bake vertex color at the same time as the rest of your map. So you turn it off, you do it off the ID map. So if you go into ID map, you can see the color source. I baked once with a mesh ID, that's where you see the blue and purple and green and red. You can do material color if you wanted. So if you were in Max and Maya and you assigned just like your basic materials, I actually been doing that for my for the stuff I've been doing for Riot. That's how I've been baking stuff, is since most of it's just been in Max, I've been assigning a material in Max, not poly painting at all, and then when I bake, I use the material color. But yeah, Vertex color is right there. All you have to do is hit bake. But you can't bake it at the same time as the rest. And if you want to hook it up, it'll come in as your ID map, and you can't drag that, so you need to go find it over here. In Project, you'll see there's a color map. And then all you gotta do, the cool thing if you use these color map, like anything that was from these additional maps here, if you use any of these, if you rebake, it'll regenerate anything that's referencing that. So if you were doing something with like a mask that picked just the oranges up and that added some lava veins somewhere in the rest of the model, bada bing bada boom, those will come along. Here, let me give you an example of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a new fill layer. Keep color on. I'm going to do a mask with color selection. I'm going to use this color ID. Now this is not ideal since it's painted, but I'll do it. I'll fake it. So I'm just sampling colors off of my Vertex color. For Christ's sake. So now if I wanted to add that lava in, right? Let's just go re-export one object. Where's my stylus just disappeared? Well, strong sense that it might have dropped on the floor. What the hell, Joe? Guys, I can't find my. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it was like, peace, nerds. I'm out of here. He's like looking at me right in the eyes and he's like, I'm out of here, nerd. Jumps through a portal, disappears into space and time. Oh, so the thing, I didn't finish the thing. So what I wanted to do was go here. So now the area that's in has an emissive map on it, right? I'm not sure why I'm not getting that render. Maybe I'm not pushing far enough on the bait. Looks like that's probably true. Let's increase the cast distance. This will also give me oranges there as well, so before I do anything else, before I update, let me just do this, you see. So now we also got that orange inside of that space, right? You can see it's also got the emissive map. Let me add to the color picker. So now when I change this and I export this, right? Like we'll go grab this real quick, and what we'll do is we'll make some changes to this model. What I'm gonna do is turn on RGB, and I'm just sort of like sample out this orange. Pretend like this is very well considered. Thanks, chat. I appreciate that. So now if we re-export this, just the one piece, right? I'll just overwrite the one that's there. So we gotta find out the name of it real quick. Oh, high top plate. Yep. And let's go right over the top of that. High top plate. Let's go right back in and bake again. Now check it out. I'm gonna get that same material ID. Actually, I might be rendering to the wrong side. Like I might have done the cuts on the side that I offset in my UVs. So we'll see. Is there a new version of Sculptress? You know, I don't actually know that. Oh, I know what I did. Aspen files. I mean, really, honestly, couldn't have come up with a better name for that. Asset bin, I get it. Yeah, makes sense. Great job. Jerks. So we'll have to rebake twice, right? We have to do the normals and all the occlusion and cavity information. So new kit's great. It's really, truly great. But you can already see that it's got my shitty little scribbles. My little lava vein scribbles. And once it's done rendering this, we switch back, we render the vertex color. And you'll see that whole vertex color, all the stuff that's there will be reassigned, it'll all be updated. And it gets pretty deep, honestly, like just the idea that you can jump into ZBrush, do whatever work you want, you know, kit bash together you put some gems everywhere, material ID them, you got a sweet gem shader in gem texture in Substance, rebake it, and then all of a sudden you have gems added wherever you add that material ID. with all the textures associated. Kind of, you've already figured out all the real tough stuff. So, okay, so there's that, and then we do again one more, and we turn off everything but the ID map. And there it is. So now you can see I've got a it's really awesome glow mask, emissive mask. Anyway, yeah, so that's the process that I go through when I'll do that maybe in the first couple days, maybe first day even, of setting up a file. Like especially for things that I don't quite understand the poly count. Like the more you're in a project, you have a pretty good idea of what your poly counts are, right? If you have a character that is your normal, whatever it is, 5,000, 15,000, 100,000 polygons, you already know what that feels like and what it kind of looks like once you've done a bunch of them. In the case of something super low poly, which isn't something I do daily, I am so much more interested in seeing exactly what I can get away with and actually literally having that number and saying, well, what's the worst it will look like? It's that 400, it's that 200, whatever the number is, and get my model down to that level just so I know, where do I have to use alpha? Where can I get away with adding a little bit of thickness to it? Is it clean enough? Like all that stuff early, figuring that stuff out, you are on the track for success. You know what I'm saying? So figuring out how to get from point A to point B, I think, is sometimes the hardest part. And that's, this whole pipeline of like having these files set up. I have a substance file now set up. If I decided part exemplar, like I'm not going to use any of those materials, right? I'm just going to use my own smart materials. Nikki, I just use Substance Painter. So Substance Painter is very much like Photoshop. The workflow is just like when you're making textures in Photoshop, working on materials yourself. The way that it's set up is very much like that. Substance Designer, if you like node-based editors, they can do roughly the same things. I'd say Designer has way more potential. This kind of is restricted to kind of filters and kind of layer stacks. It's sort of a combination of the way that you work in Max and Maya with like layer stacks and history. It's kind of a combination of that and Photoshop, where Substance Designer is just a node-based editor that does just a node-based editor. It does a lot of the things that you would want it to do. All right, so let's make a nice Dargon skin. Got some nice meatiness to it, right? Nice purples and blues and greens in this texture. demos. Nothing wrong with it. You know, get you that demo. All right. So there's a cool base material, right? Oh, we're gonna let me have that log window open that whole time? No one gonna say nothing about that? Shame. So I can set these up, and then as I go, if I decided I'm gonna add a bunch of bolts on the thing, I got this mask. All I have to do is make sure they're on the same material ID, and then when I re-render, it'll just repopulate it all over the model. It's so cool to be able to do that stuff. I mean, it's like the combination of ZBrush and this, I feel like the two of them, I can almost completely make a character and not dip. If I didn't want to, I wouldn't have to necessarily dip too much into other programs. But it's super powerful because it lets me rapidly build things and test them really fast. Also, the exporter in Substance, super dope. Real quick export, like you can export 8 maps instantly. It's incredible. But yeah, so we have like this really cool start to this model, right? Like it's a simple thing. ZBrush is gonna let me really modify all of those groups if I wanted. I could actually, rather than have all this poly paint that I've got right now, you can use your ZBrush file and use this guy. Rather than having this poly paint set up the way that I do, I could solidify these colors, right? And make this real easy for myself. I can literally just paint in mass that would replace those material IDs. So using all the stuff that ZBrush offers you, and understanding how it can get you from point A to point B faster, to me is like step one. Step two is make these kind of things, these sort of choices that you can make, just automatic. Make your brain run that way where you're like, yeah, I really want to see if this is the right choice. So I'm gonna go test it out. You know, one of the things we talked about for the last couple of weeks is like being curious, right? Trying to figure out what actually your job is a lot about that same curiosity, and it keeps going. It's always that. It's always taking the next step of paying attention and learning from your mistakes and realizing that those mistakes are actually the things that you're gonna remember more than your successes. You know, and I think that really, it's kind of like battle hardens you into making better choices every time.
No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star.
So just poly painting like this could be the way that you get your mask, right? You could just literally poly paint. So you could, inside of this, if you wanted to make little polka dots that would be selected as a different material, you could do that. Or duping the mesh, giving it a poly paint color. All these are options. You guys have any questions? Like, it's kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around. I think a lot of people are reticent to gray box, and I feel like this is a cool step that isn't necessarily just gray boxing. It's more representative of what you think you might be putting in the game in the first place, rather than just like this placeholder that exists. I don't know, you have to be comfortable with the fact that you don't really get that wow moment for the people that are sitting around you when you do this, because they'll be like, oh, there's a version of this character in the game, it looks cool. Kind of weird, it's a little bit shitty, the model, but I guess it's in game, that's cool, right? Like, I'm excited about that. And then you can iterate on it, and you don't get the, hey, I just went from 0 to look at this dope character in the game. So there's a little bit of a leveling that happens, but still, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to rapidly prototype things. In the matter of a few hours, like if this were the whole character, I could have done the same exact thing for all these parts. Just done auto unwraps, and really all that I would have to do to name them, to get it working, is to name them properly. And it would bake just the same. Materials could be reused because it had the same color IDs that I'm painting on here, you know? Do you guys have any questions at all today? A pretty low-key day. Just making some things. Progress!
I said I'm moving too far. Getting lost.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like this is a pretty good place to end the stream. We'll continue this process maybe next week. Actually, I'm not really sure. We might actually move on to the next set of stuff. I think just building something fully scratched out may be the next step. Oh, Shane, we're just working on, like, I started, got a base bake in Substance and sort of setting up the files to show, like, how easy money that could be. But yeah, so it's sort of like setting it up so that I can go, when I rebake, I'll just have all the materials pre-configured. I have it all set. Change material IDs. Actually, I was just painting new material ID. Yeah, so I'm gonna shut it down. I think I'll see you guys next week. Feel free to pop into my stream if you guys have any thoughts on things you'd like me to cover. Trying to decide if I'm gonna stream now or not. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll be around doing my art stuff on my stream. Kind of hungry. I feel like I ate that poke, but I'm still starving. So. Oh, you're deep in, huh? Dark, I'm tinkering. I managed to get some stuff working. It wasn't anything shocking, but I ended up getting to a part where I kind of understand what's going on. But yeah, so I'm gonna save this up. The stream is canceled. I'm just stopping. Yeah, I'm a little tired, Rez. You might not be wrong. Yeah, I got the mace working, and then I managed to get babies working, or change the baby size or scales. Figured out where that was. Understand what I would do. It's a little bit tedious since it's like manually entering child and bone names, but pretty cute. Got some ridiculous results. Accidentally messed up a bunch of stuff. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I may take a nap. I think it's more likely that I'll stream. But maybe find a Red Bull or something. Red Bull number 2. Have I used Maya LT? I have not used Maya LT. I use Maya every day. I use Maya and Max equally. Use Maya for the end of my tool chain and Max for any modeling stuff, unwrapping, things like that. Woo! See you guys.